We're just about to come up on our $1 million mark in May, so I'm pretty happy. We're at about the 2 million benchmark for our 8th year. More about I wanted to make a good living for the family, and I wanted to do it on my own terms. Somewhere between 20 and 30% growth annually is what we've had almost from day one. America is the place of dreams. It's all here for us. Stop laying aside the excuses and just go get it, because they're there.
Welcome to the Zero to Profitable Franchise Podcast, the best place for you to come to figure out the right franchise to buy and how to get and stay profitable. My name is Tariq Johnson, and I've bought, grown, and sold multiple franchises and got myself free from corporate America, and now I'm on a mission to help you do that too. Here you'll find some of the most in-depth profitable franchise secrets, tangible strategies, and specific mindsets to help you create your dream life through franchising. If you're feeling fed up at work, then this is the episode for you. So Rick wasn't happy with his job at Coca-Cola, and he knew that he needed to do something different. So fast forward 8 years later, and Rick has built a $2 million a year business that he's built to satisfy the lifestyle that he wants to live. He has what he calls a family business with multiple family members all working in his franchise business, and he shares with a smile that he's in his pool at 3 p.m. on Fridays and doesn't get out until Sunday. He went from working 60 hours a week in his corporate job to a lot less than that now in his business. Rick's story is a great example of this. If you are not happy and tired of making someone else rich and working on their dream, at any moment, you can choose to build your own. I trust that you'll enjoy hearing Rick's story on how he did it, despite having to sell a key person on it, his wife Heather. Now, if you want to buy a franchise in the next 12 months, you can check out my free franchise masterclass at buyaprofitablefranchise.com. And if you want to work with me and my team on finding or buying a franchise or resale business, then you can go to tariqjohnson.com/consulting, and we're happy to see if we can help. With that said, let's get into episode number 17 of the Zero to Profitable Franchise Podcast. Hey, before we jump into the episode, if you've gotten value from any of the content I put out, it's not easy and it really takes a lot of time to create this content. So if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like button and drop a comment, anything, even a smiley face. It helps the YouTube algorithm show the episode to more and more people. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, please rate and drop a quick review. Both of these things are free and take no longer than 30 seconds. Thanks so much, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Well, welcome to podcast episode number 17. We have Rick McGregor here from Got You Covered. And Rick, thanks for coming on.
You are more than welcome. Love doing these kinds of things.
Cool. Awesome. And we also share our love for energy drinks. I've got a Celsius. He's got a Monster.
Product placement, right?
Yeah. Got to get a sponsorship deal. Well, awesome. I'm really excited for us to record this episode. We for the viewers out there, we got to talk, I think last week, and I got to hear your story, which is really amazing, coming from the corporate world and having built what you have in the franchise world. So, if you could tell us a little bit about the business that you're in, and kind of what you do and what that looks like.
Okay. Well, of course, Got You Covered is a franchise that does blinds, drapery, shades, shutters, and more. Lots of extra things that go along with it, but essentially everything that has to do with windows and window treatments, that's what we're in the business of doing. So our little company is in our 8th year, and we're having a great deal of success right here in Collin County, North Dallas area. And we're just a little company. My wife and my brother and my son-in-law, and now my daughter is joining us. And so it's just a little family business. We do have a couple of other employees that are on staff with us as well. Plus we have several contractors that are with us, not only on the sales side, but also on the installation side. And so they routinely are doing business with us, although that's not the only business that they have and entertain. They're quasi part-time, 3/4 time, and they get to do other things whenever they want to do it. But we employ them fairly successful, anyways. We do. We're just about to come up on our $1 million mark in May, so I'm pretty happy. We're at about the 2 million benchmark for our 8th year, and it's been a really good ride last 8 years.
Yeah, awesome. Congratulations. Yeah, it does. And I mean, let me ask you this. Okay, so 8 years ago, when you were making the leap and embarking on this, would you ever have thought you would have built a $2 million a year business? Or is that what you were trying to do? Did you think that was like achievable?
Yes. To answer the question, how long would it have taken me? I'll say I'm probably a little bit more narcissistic, thinking that I would have made it faster. But to me, it was more about I wanted to make a good living for the family, and I wanted to do it on my own terms. And this was an opportunity that helped us do that, to make a good living and doing it on our own terms. And so we've had great success. It's been pretty steady growth. It's not taking large leaps, except for 2019, which was, COVID kind of really gave us a big bump. And I'm sure most of the home industry did as well. Anything that had to do with homes, mainly just because people were staying home. And so they were looking at things in their homes a great deal more and not spending money on vacations. So they had a lot more spendable money to do things around the house. So they were doing that. But that success has continued on. Last year was a great year for us. And this year we seem to be on the same upward tick. Somewhere between 20 and 30% growth annually is what we've had almost from day one. So wow. It's just like every year gets better. You get more, you add more people, you have more success. Obviously there comes a place where the law of diminishing returns, where you don't take home as much money, and now you're just staffing more to keep things going. But we've been pretty happy, mainly because it's been our own family, which is really exciting, to take care of them. Plus, they're kind of envious that they get to see us do our thing and go, you guys have a pretty good life, you're not working all the time. And I go, nope, don't work all the time. That's what owning your own business is all about. You don't want to work all the time. So you take it as it comes. Obviously, when the sales are good, you ride it out as much as you can. But we've never had an opportunity where we had to say, hey, I need to work, in the evenings. I need to work on the weekends. We did initially. I did, because, when I birthed it 8 years ago, it was, I was coming from a corporate position where I was used to working 70-hour work weeks. And so I just transitioned into that and did same kind of work ethic. And it really helped me, because I just plowed along like I always had. But I also knew that I was the owner and the master of my own destiny. So that really helped inspire me a great deal more. But as we got into it, when we were able to add some other people to the staff, I began to back off and just funnel more work to them. And we had more division of labor, which helped obviously hone us down. So we have different people who are doing different parts, as opposed to where I started I was wearing all the hats. I was doing everything. So, but you're happy to do it at the time, and there's not a lot of business where you can't do it. But sooner or later, as you continue to grow, you have to figure out what pieces are you really successful at, what needs to be done that you're not really good at, and you give it away. And so we've been happy to give it away to the right people at the right time.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I mean, you've built such a great business. I have two things that I want to kind of drill down on there that you mentioned. And, one of the ones was your kind of growth throughout COVID. And, And what's interesting is that, I mean, you're in a very business friendly state, right? Texas. I live in Florida, so I know that throughout COVID, we were still pretty active, and so it's interesting that you still saw the same bump that other states may have seen when they may have been more locked down. But now, there's all this talk about, as the date of us recording this is May 23rd, right? And so there's all this talk about an economic slowdown and a recession and all those different things. What are you seeing on the front lines on your end? I mean, are you seeing people are slowing down their spend a lot, or do you feel like business is kind of business as usual?
If you were to look around at right where we live right now, you would say business is phenomenal because all you see in every direction is new houses, and a lot of houses, no for sale signs, because they're sold before they hit the market, before they even put one person on that piece of ground, it's sold. So the wave in the southern states, we're really feeling it. And as you're in Florida, and Texas and Florida are very similar in the just people are moving here because of the economy, because of the stability, because of the housing market, which is really solid. But we've seen a real uptick in housing prices like we've never experienced before. When I hear the stories of people moving in from California and they're going, yeah, I sold my 1,200 square foot home for $1 million. I go, you sold a 1,200 square foot home for $1 million? Really? Like, yeah, that's all you could get. And I go, well, you're going to have a mansion here, brother. And they're paying cash. They really are. There's a lot of cash buyers. So you come in with that mindset of, well, these are cash buyers, and we don't finance anything, not one stitch. And people are always asking, hey, do you ever need a financing? I go, no, I actually just give them a discount for cash and they'll pay it because they want the discount. So we barely even have the finance charges on credit cards.
Interesting.
Because just a little marketing strategy is to help people get over the hurdle of making a decision. Like, hey, I'll give you an extra 5% off. Well, if you're going to give 3% away to the credit card companies, you're only giving them 2% really incentive to make a purchase on that day. So it really helps us close more deals on the end, and we get better deal. In fact, we do close more on the higher end than I would say most of my counterparts throughout Gotcha Covered. Gotcha Covered's average price tag across North America is somewhere around $2,700, and we're around $5,400. So we're almost twice that rate, but we're doing a lot of whole houses too. So that's a huge difference. Is we're walking in. So most of our clients are new homes. Most of our clients are looking to do the entire home. There's somewhere between 15 and 25 windows, and it's phenomenal when you get into those 45 window homes. Like, you realize you have 45 windows, and I said, we have 45 windows. Go, yeah, that's a lot of windows.
Wow.
So it really can uptick, the number of choices that people are making. We don't sell a lot of our blind customers, which to me are like your faux blind customers are really looking for just entry level, and they want the most economical solution. And so most of our customers are looking for something a little bit more upscale. We've had a large uptick in drapery, which is really surprising. Drapery seems to be coming back really strong for us, whereas when we first got started, it was blind, shades, and shutters. Now it's about 25% of our business is drapery. So we are really happy about that. And drapery is definitely on a higher end. It's never something you need. It's something that you want to make your home beautiful. And so we really try to adjust how we're calibrating for those clients that are looking for drapery, because they know they've already got the money. They're willing to invest more money in their homes, and they want it to look beautiful. And they want it. They want you to knock it out of the park for them and make it look great. So we have fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny because my wife and I just she handled all of that process, but she recently started getting some quotes and stuff for some window treatments. We've been in our house for about 1.5 years, but we had a we were welcoming our new little girl into the family, and she wanted to get some blackout shades installed behind the shutters, different things like that. And it's interesting because my wife was telling me about, she had 2 or 3 different companies come out, and she felt like some of the experience with some of the salespeople that came out weren't that great. She felt like they weren't really listening to her, and some of the numbers just kind of seemed off as they were going through the process. And what's interesting is when you and I talked last week for the first time, you were kind of telling me about, can you share what you shared about when you were deciding on if you were going to pull the trigger on this franchise, and kind of what process you went through, and what kind of spurred you to think, I think I can do this?
Yeah, we invited some people into our home, some competitors, which we weren't competitors at that point, but it gave me an opportunity to see their approach, see their presentation, see their style, and also get a good feel for pricing right where they're at. I think any business you go into, especially if you're a new business owner, is you got to determine, what can the market bear? Well, the market can bear what your competition is giving it up at, and so you got to figure out who is out there that's selling really cheap, who's really selling high, and then also trying to figure out how do you fit in that mix with your diversity. Since Scotch Covered is a franchise, we offer a half a dozen different brands, not just a one size solution fits all. We have lots of opportunities. So it's very seldom where I don't walk into somebody's house where they're going, can you do this? And I go, no, I can't, because I can. That's why they call it Scotch Covered, right? When we took that opportunity, it really helped me see and envision myself in the industry, and my wife as well, to try to get a feel for what was going on in the industry. It was neat to see some people that you're like, I don't even know how you're making a living at this, dude. I mean, you're not very good at it. But what we just did discover was there was a lot of single presentations and not a lot of people listening. And so we really wanted to take that approach, and that's Gotcha Covered's really training process anyway. So they're really geared towards the consumer is in the driving seat. You want to help them make smart decisions, and you act as a coach rather than a director, and so we're not trying to direct them to make decisions. We want them to get the information out of them. What are they trying to accomplish in each room? And it's, in fact, almost every single time when I open the door into a new client's home, I ask them to give me a tour and tell me what this room is about, and tell me what you're trying to experience here, and what you want to accomplish in these types of settings. And then you really can coach them through the process, because sometimes the dreams are visions of grandeur, and you have to cut to the chase real quick and go, you realize you painted a $50,000 picture, and they're going, well, I was thinking more like 2,000. I'm like, okay, so let's bring down the dream, to your budget, and try to help you understand in your budget what you can get for that. And if you want to spend some money, pick the room that you want to spend the money in. Where do you want to spend your time? And so it really helps us grow with the clients and what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, it's funny how sometimes people's expectations based on their budget and has to be adjusted. And that can be a hard transition to overcome, I would imagine. But I love that when you told me that you had done that in terms of initially when you had it on the franchise yet, just kind of scoping out some of the competition, because it's actually one of the things that I tell my clients to do, which is like, make a list of all the competitors within a 10-mile radius and shop them, see how busy they are, get a gauge of the demand in the area. I mean, the thing that's going to determine your profitability the most in the short term is demand. And, it's obvious that that's helped you a lot. Like you said, there's houses being built all over the place. So there's continued demand and continued demand and continued demand. And I love that you shared, that you don't really see that the R word is really hitting you guys or impacting you. And I saw that the stock market had a pretty decent bounce today. So who knows? Maybe we'll see that things continue the right direction. But so here's something interesting that I'm interested in, and I think folks listening will be too, is that you mentioned you have essentially a family business. I think you said what, your brother-in-law, your wife, and then you said your daughter's getting ready to join you in the business too.
So my brother joined first, and it was really out of a need for me in sales, because I was at the point where I couldn't handle any more sales, and I knew I was capped. I couldn't make any more money because it's just not enough time in the day to continue to go out and make sales. And when you start not following up with your leads nearly as much, it's a sign you're too busy, because you just don't have the time. And so I really brought my brother in, and it really took me a good year before he moved from Florida and stole him away from the pest control industry of all things. And I knew he was successful in pest control. And I was like, if you can be successful in pest control, you can be successful in anything. That was my thought. I mean, who likes bugs?
They're all over here in Florida. It's not a hard sell here.
Right. It was a hard transition for him, because he had to flip the switch into being more comfortable in dreaming with people, as opposed to just trying to be there to kill the bugs, to squash the bugs, right?
Yeah.
So it did take him longer to transition than I thought. It took him about 6 months, and I finally had to kick him out the door. Really, I was like, yeah, I can't train you anymore. You shadowed me enough. You got to go learn this stuff on your own. And actually went on vacation. I go, see you. And I said, I'll be back in 2 weeks. But
That's hilarious.
He did just fine. And then my wife came on, and she's taken over all the administrative in-house stuff that we had. And then we hired another sales rep, again, for basically the same need as we continue to grow. My son-in-law has joined us in a sales capacity, and it really fits his personality, because he's really outgoing, very personable with people, and has a flair for it. So he's good at what he's doing, and he's enjoying it now. We call him $1 Million Matt, just because he's sitting up $1 million his first year, and we're like, okay, $1 Million Matt, let's go knock it out. But he's very excited to be with people, and that youthfulness really has helped him. But probably more than anything else was that him and my daughter, Hannah, who is also joining us this year, they're purchasing their own home. And I go, to me, that was a game changer, because once you become a homeowner as a new family man, number one, you're catching the vision of why people want to buy homes. So you'll get excited about your own home, but now you're excited about all these other people that are doing exactly the same thing. And there's lots of people that are his age that are purchasing. And it's amazing how many times I have to look at it and go, okay, you probably could be my kids now, and you're buying your first house. And of course, they are my kids' age. So I'm excited. And Hannah's going to come on, and she's going to take over Heather's responsibilities for the most part, which allows Heather and I to stop doing what we're doing, which is the daily operations, and really focus on more how to generate leads, how to get out there and grow the business. We have purchased another area so now we're got you covered at Frisco, but we also own now got you covered McKinney Allen. So we actually have two sites now. So it's pretty exciting for us to see the growth and to see the business growing. But now that's another area that really needs a lot of love and attention. And we have to do a lot more networking over in that area, which is not that far a drive. And we're talking 10 miles. So it's not a big drive down the road. It's just down the road.
Yeah. And so here's what's interesting to me is that I feel like, depending upon who you talk to, some people will say, oh, well, he's so lucky. He's got his family that he can rely on in his business. And then you might have someone else who says, there's no way and chance I would ever do business with my family. So how has that been for you in making that work, and just having that off switch sometimes? Because then it's hard to turn it off, even when you're spending time with family. How do you switch from business to then personal?
To me, kind of our dream with my wife and I was really to own our own business. When we met each other, we, like so many people do, right? You spend a lot of time with one another, and you're like, well, this is a romance. This is the great deal of love that you have. But the more and more time you spend with one another, you're either going to have that feeling where I can't work with you because I got to have it a particular way. And to me, as a manager of business, I've always felt my job was to work myself out of a job, always. And I've always taken that approach, no matter what I've done, was try to figure out how to work myself out of a job so I don't have to do it. I'm a poor manager if I can't do that. So learning to delegate and give away things and allow people to grow, including failures at the time, it's painful at times, especially to see but all my family go through the same experiences. And I was like, yeah, I tried to tell you, but you weren't listening to me. So you just needed to go experience it, and you have to say that's okay. And that's how people grow. Some people can have a mentor and have a tutor and really grow in that experience, but others are like me. We're hard-headed, and we got to go pound it out and figure out how we're going to make it in the world. And if you're a good manager, you allow people to go through those experiences. But as far as turning it off, to me, it's not a problem. As I told you, it's like we don't have any problem turning it off. Friday, 3:00, I'm going to be in my pool, and I'll get out on Sunday night, and because that's when I have a good time. So we enjoy our lives. In the evenings, you got to learn how to turn things off. The good news and the bad news is when you're on vacations, it's probably not off as nearly as much. But I always look at it from the standpoint that, okay, I'm on vacation, but I just made a couple more $1,000 for a 30-second phone call. Who cares?
Yeah.
So as long as your spouse is with you on that journey together, and you got to have that demanding time 24/7 to be turned off intentionally, I think you can be okay in any business owner. I don't think it's this business, it's any kind of business that you're in, and learning to keep enough time for your family. If you're consumed with it, you're driven for success. As I joked with one of my counterparts this past year at our annual conference, he goes, "How much are you going to make this year?" And I go, $3 million. And he goes, "I'm going to make $4 million." We're both joking. It's a little bit stretched for both of us. But we're not driven to make that extra amount. I'm not like, my life is not going to go into chaos if I don't make that amount. As I always think about it from our perspective, there's no such thing as a blind emergency. There are no emergency customers out there for me. It's not like, hey, I got to go. They think that is, right? Hey, the world's coming down because my shade did not come down an extra 1/4 inch on my motorization. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure you can live without that 1/4 inch tonight. I'll talk to you tomorrow about it and show you how to get it fixed for the extra 1/4 inch, And so to me, there's no blind emergency. So I don't really try to take on that approach that this is a life and death situation. These are window treatments. It's an aesthetic that people bring into their home to add value to their home and add beauty for the most part. And so as long as you're along that ride with, hey, the goal here is beauty, not an emergency, I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, that's really insightful, actually, and I think that's an important characteristic for people to think about when they're getting into business. A good buddy of mine has a fire and water restoration business. Now, granted, he's built a beautiful business. I mean, he does $10 million a year in sales. But I remember when we both used to live in California at some time, which is where his business is. He's since moved to Texas now. Oh, yeah. We'd be hanging out at our pool and his phone would just be, ringing off the hook. And that was just his overflow line too, because he had his guys on the phone. So it is important to think about. But to me, hearing you like that, this was a conscious decision for you, because some people are just wired where they're going to kind of put themselves in a panic to work all the time, no matter what. So I love that you just made that decision to do that so you can enjoy your life. And I'm sure if you wanted to, you could probably have your whole team working weekends, doing quotes and installations and grinding it out to try to get to 3 million, but you're choosing lifestyle over profits. Right. And so that's one of the, I guess, the freedoms and choices you have as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I mean, we have a long weekend coming up, and we already told everybody, is like, if you want to work on Monday, it's your choice, but I'm not requiring anybody work on Monday. It's a holiday. And so you want to take those holiday events. Now, you would say in most places like ours, retail sales, they live for the holidays because that's when they make the money. Everybody's buying, everybody's looking. It's like, okay. I'm like, if they can't find me Monday through Friday on a regular week, then I'm sorry. I guess they can go find it somewhere else. Is that a missed opportunity for me? It might be, but I won't give up my family and my lifestyle on how I like to live my life in an effort just for really is your own personal goals, right? Hey, I've got to make X or I'm not successful. Well, who decides that? Do I need a giant house? Do I need another Ferrari? What do I need? I think I live a comfortable life. I drive a 2012 Ford F-150. It's a very comfortable ride. Why do I need something different? I like it. It feels good. So we're happy where we're at. Obviously, there's times and opportunities where you say, hey, I want different things in life. And to me, they're just not that hard to attain unless you're just dreaming enormous dreams. Now, there's plenty of people out there that are great, successful people that have enormous dreams and still have the kind of lifestyle that I have. I know they're out there. You choose where you're happy in life and feel good with where you're at. Not to be complacent, but to be satisfied, right? I don't want to be complacent. On the other side, I don't want to feel like I have to do something. I'm satisfied with where I'm at in life. There it is.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. And so here's what's interesting to me, and I think this is a really interesting point, and we can kind of talk a little bit about your background in the corporate world. But what I thought about when you told me about your family being in the business, so you have your son-in-law, your daughters entering into the business, which is one day, whenever you decide you want to hang it up, you can either sell it to them or pass the business down to them, which is a really amazing option to be able to have them carry on that legacy and be able to be entrepreneurs. But in the corporate world, right? Like you used to work for Coca-Cola and we can talk about that in a minute, but you can't, after 15 years, you can't pass it on to your kids. You can't sell it to your kids as an asset. So I guess the first question for you is, what does that feel like for you, knowing that the last 8, 10, or 15 years, whatever it winds up being, that you can wind up creating this legacy for your family? What does that mean to you?
Oh, it's a fantastic. I think that the biggest thing that I think about on the short term in 5 or 10 years from now is that my wife can carry on the business without me. I'm turning 60 this year, and in five years, if I wanted to turn it off, the business won't stop, the income won't stop. And so there's still that legacy coming in to support her and her needs as I begin to, do whatever I want to do. And right now I don't want to do anything else, but and it is a good, comforting feeling to know that you do have kids that may want to have that opportunity. Now, I've got 3 other children. They're all older than my youngest, who's here locally, and none of them want to work in the business. But they probably wouldn't pass up the opportunity if it fell on their lap. That may be the difference. Most of them love where they live. I have a daughter in Park City, Utah, and I have a son in Denver, Colorado, and another one in Austin. So they really like where they live because of where they like to live, and enjoy that life that they've got there. But economy has a way of driving people to make decisions a great deal. And I don't know if this economy will last forever. And I don't think anybody has a magic wand of any kind to know that. They don't have a crystal ball, right, to know, hey, is this economy going to stick around? I don't know whether it will or not. But people are always going to need certain things in their life, because it's very seldom that we're going to make changes where houses are not being built at all, or people are not renovating their own homes and trying to make them more satisfying to their own standards. And so I love that opportunity for my children. I hope they will grow into it. And I want to, as I told my son-in-law, I was like, you can make this a $10 million company. I'm not going to. I don't want to. I don't have a desire to do that. I don't want to have them to manage 15 people, or 20 people. I like the size we're at. It's easy to do the things that we like to do. But if you've got a bigger dream and a bigger vision, that doesn't mean it can't happen. So I think that's what has inspired him to go out and be successful and learn the business and grow with it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And so, okay, so tell us about where you came from in terms of the corporate world. I mean, you weren't an entrepreneur all of your life. So how did you wind up getting into this business?
It really was a God thing, as far as I can tell. We were coming to a place where I was fairly unsatisfied at Coca-Cola, and I enjoyed my time, 12, 13 years there. I really enjoyed the opportunity to grow. I had several promotions that I grew within the company, but I did come to a place where you just wake up and go, I'm never going to be the CEO of this company. Why am I here? And what's the point of it? There were lots of emergencies, and to them, they were emergencies. So I was on call. To me, it felt like 24/7, although I wasn't. So there was plenty of opportunities where you had to make things work. And I was on the distribution side, not on the sales side. So my job really was to be effective in creating routes for drivers on a routine basis with my team. And our goal was to get everything out on the trucks the next day, essentially, that was sold the prior day. So you have sales on one day, you have planning the next, and you got execution the next day. So when you're that large, those cogs are really trying to go pretty quick. At the same time, it was pretty hard to make huge changes too, because everything is a big cog. So it's very difficult to make enormous changes. We were measured by the penny on everything, whether we could save another penny on a case. And once you get to that level where you're like, okay, yay, we saved another penny. Talking about 14 billion cases that went out. That's a lot of money, but to me, it's unsatisfactory to know I'm just trying to save a penny, right? And that's my goal. And we had filled out, I'm sure I filled out something on a search engine, just looking and browsing and looking for opportunities. And but next thing I knew, Gotcha Covered was giving me a call, and I was getting a pitch from the president, Vic Yosha, at the time. And here was the pitch. And the first thing that went through my head was, yeah, I think I can do that, but my wife will never go for it. So I, as I told Vic, I go, you got me, but you got a bigger fish that you got to catch. So you got to convince her. And to be honest, Heather was like, are you kidding me? Seriously, window treatments, and she really didn't want me to leave Coke, but she also knew how unsatisfied I was in the position that where I was at. And so we took a leap of faith. And really the goal of the first year was, how fast would it take me to get to a level where I could, number one, replace my income, let alone, surpass it, and that was a huge undertaking, because we were making a good salary at the time and lots of good benefits with big organizations. And we did take a huge jump and a risk. No insurance for the first few years, just because we're like, okay, I'm gonna tough it out. I can't afford it. We're gonna live healthy and try to live a good life and do the right things that'll keep me from going to the doctor. And that's what we did. And so here we are, 8 years later. We now have health insurance for our little company, so we're providing it for us as well as other people are coming on. And so it's helpful to see us grow in all those little things that we had before. But most of it now, we don't feel it. I don't feel the pain. So it's like, great, the company can afford it. We can do those things. And so we're growing in so many other ways that we don't change our lifestyle, we change our risk level. And that's where so many people are at with when they make that initial step, is that they are risking. They're risking something that they have security in to something they don't have security in. And that's why I do say that is a God thing. You do have to rest in your faith and have assurance that your faith is bigger than all of it, right? Because if it's not, what is it? What is it? It's a belief system, but it's not really a faith system. And faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things that are not seen. I couldn't prove to anybody that I was going to be successful in this, much less my wife. But I believed I could. And so the good news is I believed I could. I did have a background in construction way back when I was in my younger years, in my 20s. And so I was comfortable building things and doing things with my hands. So I felt comfortable that I could do the installations. The sales side, honestly, probably was the bigger side for me because I hadn't been doing sales, but I was comfortable with people and comfortable in my own skin, going, I'm happy to have a conversation with somebody and dream with them.
Yeah, sorry, that was just Amazon at the door. We'll edit that part out. I just told him to drop it there. All right, so Rick, to me, this is probably the most powerful part of the interview, right? Because I always say that there's that leap of faith part, right? And people have different faiths who watch this, but having that faith to actually believe in something bigger and just trust that you'll be taken care of is, I think it's everything. Because there's some tremendously smart people that they're so smart they figure out a way to talk themselves out of ever making the leap.
Yeah, that is so true about so many people. They can do it, and they have the gifts and the talents to do it, but they don't, because part of it is the security and the lure of being employed, right? That being employed gives you that sense of security. If you believe that that's what's keeping you secure, I believe you got a false worldview in anyways, right? Your worldview has to be, you have to have a bigger than life, that there's a bigger explanation for us to be here on this planet. There's a bigger explanation for you being here on this planet, right? That you exist not because of a casual chance, but because you are here specifically for a journey. And that journey is yours and yours alone. And so it is kind of like getting on a surfboard, right? You get out there, it's like, you're either going to surf that wave or you're not, or you're just going to be paddling around doing nothing. And who wants to paddle? There's no fun in that. Get up on the board, stand up, ride the wave, have a good time with it. And if you can't enjoy it, then yeah, maybe you are that person that has to be employed because you can't enjoy the risk. But the risk to me is like, that's worth it altogether. I'll take that any day. I more than complacency where you're just sitting down and going, I got a good paycheck. To me, that's not the exciting people in life. I like to hang out with people that are willing to risk and are challenging themselves. One of my best friends down the street, he has had the ride of his life. He is just an extraordinary person with his talents and gifts, but he never stops, right? He just pushes through and looks for a bigger challenge and knows no matter what he does, he'll land on his feet. And so I'm inspired by, people like that. You want to hang out with people that are taking you to another level. Because if everybody's below you, then you're not going to risk anything, right? You got to have some people that are willing to go above and beyond where they're at and help you as you try to look for opportunities to help yourself out too.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good point there, because I think a lot of people that are making this leap and either looking at a franchise or trying to make the leap from the corporate world, they don't always have an example around them of someone who's done that. Like their parents and everyone in their family has worked in the corporate world. So they've never seen what it looks like to be a successful entrepreneur. And so it's like they just can't even fathom the reality of that, which I think, makes it really, really hard for them. So, all right. Well, so in closing, here's a question that I have for you is, what do you think it would have cost you if you would have never done it? Like if that conversation with your wife of like, I don't know, this is kind of sketchy. Like if you didn't do it, what do you think that would have cost you?
I don't know. To me, I look back at those times and I go, I was so willing to risk anything. If it wasn't this opportunity, it would have been another. I would have taken the leap, because I was ready, and I was, to me, the life was too mundane, and I was like, I need to be challenged in life. Even right now, us taking on another area, we're pretty satisfied with where we got. Pretty risky. People always like, hey, isn't that risky? I was like, no, it doesn't feel risky at all. It feels normal. It's like, no, this is where I need to go. I need to open up this door. And yeah, I may find myself losing a ton of money. Who knows? I don't know. But I'll do it all over again. It's worth the risk. And so the question is, if I hadn't taken it, if you're willing and able, you'll take it. If you're not willing, you won't take it. If you're not able, you won't take it. Right? You need to have both. You need to have willingness and you need to have ability to take it. If you can't envision yourself with the ability and the willingness, then it's not the opportunity for you. So you do have to see both of those opportunities in front of you. But and once you do, to me, it's just like getting on an escalator. You go up, I get on, you go up.
That's awesome. Well, Rick, thanks so much for joining us and sharing your story. And again, congratulations on all of your success. Your family is lucky to have you, and your community is lucky to have you as well. I mean, you've built something great, and glad to see you out there succeeding at something you enjoy.
Well, I pray that other people will have as many opportunities and many more than me. They're right there. America is the place of dreams. Well, it's all here for us. And stop laying aside the excuses and just go get it, because they're there.
I love it. What a great way to end. Cheers, man.